Welcome to Vital Signs. I'm Jen Gode, your host, and we are here talking about all things health, wellness, peak human performance so that you can maximize your greatest asset, your health. I am really excited to be here with you this week. We have an excellent docket of guests today. And remember that everything on the show is for educational purposes only. This is not medical advice. Please always consult with your medical practitioners prior to changing any of your routines. But without further ado, I am welcoming back one of our special guests, Bryan Fetzer. He has over 28 years experience working with elite collegiate and professional athletes. Bryan, welcome back to the show.
Jen, it's great to be back on.
So just for those who are tuning in case they missed your last one, tell us a little bit about the two companies that you have operating in this health and wellness space.
Well, one is Iron Faith Nutrition. It's a nutraceutical company. We mainly deal with holistic health, and it's a fantastic company. Natural products that go from detoxification into inflammation state. But then in the same breath, I'm the president of Optimal Sports, which is a mental optimization and mental health company that mainly deals with the sports realm, but we also deal with ministries and we deal with executives as well. So it's a nice combination, having coached for such a long time and then getting into really the background behind being a coach with the mental side and with the nutritional side.
Well, I'm really excited to dive a little deeper today into mental health and well-being and the role of the mental aspect in elite human performance. And so I would like to just kind of ask you if you could shed some light on the connection between peak mental health and well-being and athletic performance.
Well, they go hand in hand. I mean, over the years, number of times I've been told, it's all mental, it's all mental. But the problem with it is we spend so little time on the mental preparation and mental optimization of sports and about peak performance. It's all about the physical. And that's one of the things you're starting to see this time around with people, that they're really putting a little more emphasis into their mental health, because if your mental health is not there, your performance is not going to be there.
Absolutely. And you know what really comes to my mind is mental resilience, because I was an athlete. I worked with athletes as well for 20 years in sports medicine. I'm a physical therapist by trade. And, what we found is it's that resilience piece. And honestly, we didn't train mental resilience back in the day. So talk to me a little bit about some of the things that you guys are recommending, some of the strategies maybe that you're seeing being utilized in order to kind of do the training aspect for mental resilience in order to have that peak athletic performance.
Well, the biggest thing is you have to understand where the issue is and where the issue lies. And it's one of the things that we do with Optimal Sports is we do assessments to give an understanding of where the deficiencies are, where the strengths are. Because if you don't understand that, how can you teach somebody if you don't know where they're coming from? How can you help guide somebody if you're going in blind? You end up it's like throwing paint on a wall and hoping it sticks and hoping it's the color that you want. And that's not how life should work. You should have a plan and a purpose behind what you're doing as you're going forward.
I couldn't agree more. And we need to know that baseline, but also when we're stressed out or we're in competition and maybe we throw a pick and we're a quarterback on Sunday, we rely in stress on our highest level of training. And so having that baseline is essential. And then we have to literally practice these habits, practice this mental resilience, this mindfulness. Talk to me a little bit about what are some of those strategies, because we have people who are listening that could very well find something they could start doing today to start building that mental resilience muscle.
Well, it's good self-talk. That's one of the big parts where you can talk yourself and let yourself understand that perfection is not necessarily going to happen. And you have to realize that failure is a part of sports, failure is a part of life. And to have an understanding with yourself that, hey, it's fine, it's okay. What am I going to do when I do fail? What am I going to do when I do come through situations that are adverse and tough situations? One of the ways you can do that is having somebody to talk to, having somebody that you feel that's open, it's honest, that you can have a discussion with, to be able to confide in. That's one aspect of it. And the other aspect of it is just, going through some breathing techniques. There's a lot of different techniques out there, and you have to keep in mind that one thing does not fit all. There's a lot of different opportunities out there for different people, and it really depends on where you struggle with the most. Like I said, breathing techniques are one. Going and finding good counseling, finding a good person to be able to talk to and walk you through those. Somebody that's been there, that's done that, that understands where they're at.
I couldn't agree with you more. And in today's sports climate, we talk a lot, especially with the high schoolers and some of the collegiate, about having that safe space, that safe psychological space, and that for those who are not adults, that safe adult that can be there to be that resource. And it's not always necessarily in the counseling realm. Sometimes it's in the coaching realm. So can you talk to me a little bit about, hey, I'm an athlete. I'm looking for this safe space, this safe person that I can have to talk to, that can help me through this and help me with my self-talk and all the other things. How do we find the right resource as an athlete?
Well, one of the things, it's so true what you just said about your coach. Sadly enough, most coaches are not prepared from the mental side. It's all physical, it's all the time. Hey, we want a strength coach. We want, somebody that's very good at the tactics of the sport, whether it's basketball, football, it doesn't even matter what it is. But, having training and an understanding of where you can go, where you can get resources, where you can get an understanding of where that, and that's what Optimal Sports starts to provide some of those opportunities or some of those educational pieces. Dr. Wayne Chappelle, who's an NBA sports psychologist, can provide, opportunities online. There's lots of content out there that you can go through and learn, within the sports psychology realm, within the mental health realm. There's certification processes that a lot of coaches should really go through to have a better understanding of how to communicate properly with their athletes.
Talk to me a little bit about, because you've been in multiple roles throughout your career and in working with these athletes. Talk to me a little bit about what you're seeing today and how this is evolving, because mental health and well-being has really been in the front of everyone's news lately with regards to athletics, especially in the younger athletes. How do you see this evolving, and how are you showing up in this space now, because you've evolved how you show up as well? Talk to me about that.
Absolutely. One of the things that I've seen, recently, and it's really sad. It really has to do with the instant gratification generation that we have right now. Everything's pushed through on social media. The influencers, they get this false understanding of what somebody is like. There's a false understanding of what extreme success is all about. And you start seeing that with young people, and it causes that stress. The expectation levels are so high. I could be the first one to admit, when I was coaching, I didn't really understand where you could be with an individual, what you needed to talk to them about. I didn't understand really. It was more about the transactional as opposed to transformational leadership. And a lot of coaches really focus on that transactional kind of leadership where, hey, you produce for me, you get praised. You produce for me, might get a scholarship. One of those things where we're talking about transformation. You're talking about, leading with the heart, leading with an understanding that you're showing compassion, that you're showing care for that individual. And it's a lot more than just wins or losses or performance.
Yeah, and that's really true, and I see that in everything. I see it in business leadership as well. So we really have sort of shifted as a society towards more of transformational leadership style over the years. And it's interesting because I want to go back to something that you said, and it's just been in my brain this whole conversation, and that's peak performers. We want to be the absolute best 100% of the time. We tend to be a little bit on the perfectionist side. We tend to be our worst critics, bigger critic of ourselves than even any coach or anyone else externally to us. So how do we shift that in our athletes? What is one thing that people listening to us today can start that shift away from perfectionism with a little bit more grace for ourselves. Maybe how do we shift that self-talk so that we can begin that resiliency process today, right now, something we can take action on.
You know what? I'd be honest, Jen. I would love to have the ideal answer for that. But I think it comes along to the bottom line of the fact that you're going to not have success sometimes. That's it used to eat me up. I mean, we would have, a loss or have some kind of event that we weren't performing the best, and it would tear me up inside. And I would want to figure out why did that happen? And you've got to do a lot of self-examination, a lot of internal thinking of realizing that it's not always going to be perfect. You're not always going to be best. And it's easy to say, but you have to realize that that's a reality truth. And you have to let the people that you're with and that you're working on, that are working underneath you, understand that failure is going to happen. And you learn more from failure than you do from success because you can go back and evaluate. It's a lot more, optimal to go back and evaluate and say, hey, what did we do wrong? A lot of times when you succeed, you forget that you might have got there on just great God-given ability. And or maybe the opponent wasn't quite as good. And to go back when you fail or you don't have the success that you think you need to have, it's real important to examine the why. Why, how, what? You know, why did it happen? Go back and analyze those things. The how, how did it happen? What did I do? Those are real simple things. And what just happened to it? And how can I overcome that going forward? Those are really simple words, but they're really meaningful and real impactful.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. We do have to take a brief break, but folks, you heard it. This is Bryan Fetzer. He is an expert in this space. Why did something happen? What happened? How did it happen? And how can I move forward and learn from this mistake or failure? We will be right back after these messages.